The Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, they're addressing the first plenary session, the role of diaspora in Atmanirbhar Bharat, taking place there on the occasion of the 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention taking place virtually. And the minister there was talking about the many reforms initiatives that have been taken by the government of India as far as enhancing the ease of doing business in the country is concerned, and how really the investments, the FDIs have gone up through the many major initiatives that have been taking place, and how clearly the focus continues to be on 3 C's: care, connect and celebrate, and making sure that India earns its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. And to make this possible, to achieve this goal, the role of the Indian diaspora is so very important. And of course, he was once again stressing on the fact how really the connection between India, the country, and its diaspora is going forward, and efforts will continue in that direction. There the live coming in as far as the first plenary session on the 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention is concerned. And with that, we'll keep getting you more updates, but first a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention via video conferencing. The Prime Minister says it's a matter of pride for India the way Indian diaspora has worked during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ten infants killed in a fire accident at Bhandara District General Hospital in Maharashtra. The Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan speaks with the State Health Minister to assess the situation. State government orders an inquiry, also announces ex gratia 5 lakh rupees for the families of the deceased infants. President, Vice President and Prime Minister condole the incident. BJP National President JP Nadda on a one-day visit to West Bengal today to launch party's new campaign aimed at wooing the farmers. Nadda to hold a rally and a road show in the state. India crosses one more milestone in the fight against COVID-19. The cumulative number of tests in the country crosses 18 crore, more than 9.16 lakh samples tested in the last 24 hours. In international news, Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives plan to introduce new articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. Say reports, Trump says he will not attend Joe Biden's inauguration. Meanwhile, Twitter permanently suspends Donald Trump's account, citing the risk of further incitement of the violence. In sports news, on day 3 of the third test at Sydney, India's first innings wind up at 244 runs. Australia begins the second innings with 94 runs lead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention virtually some time back. The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention is a flagship event of the government to engage and connect with the overseas Indians. The chief guest for this year is the President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi. President Ramnath Kovind will address the valedictory session as well. Now addressing the event, Prime Minister Modi stressed that Indian diaspora has strengthened their identity by showing their commitment for the betterment of our society in the past few years. Prime Minister Modi stressed that Indian diaspora has contributed immensely during the challenging times due to COVID-19 pandemic.
बीता साल हम सभी के लिए बहुत चुनौतियों का साल रहा है, लेकिन इन चुनौतियों के बीच विश्व भर में फैले हमारे इंडियन डायस्पोरा ने जिस तरह कार्य किया है, अपना कर्तव्य निभाया है, वो भारत के लिए भी गर्व की बात है। यही तो हमारी परंपरा है, यही तो इस मिट्टी के संस्कार है। इस जगह से सोशल और पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप के लिए दुनिया भर में भारतीय मूल के साथियों पर भरोसा और मजबूत हो रहा है।
Prime Minister Modi also said that India has come out with 2 made in India vaccines and India will soon start a largest COVID vaccination drive.
आज भारत एक नहीं बल्कि 2 मेड इन इंडिया कोरोना वैक्सीन के साथ मानवता की सुरक्षा के लिए तैयार है। दुनिया की फार्मेसी होने के नाते दुनिया के हर जरूरतमंद तक जरूरी दवाएं पहुंचाने का काम भारत ने पहले भी किया है और आज भी कर रहा है। दुनिया आज सिर्फ भारत की वैक्सीन का इंतजार ही नहीं कर रही, बल्कि दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा वैक्सीनेशन प्रोग्राम भारत कैसे चलाता है, इस पर भी नजरें हैं।
Prime Minister Modi also said that India is using technology to weed out corruption and has been at the forefront on the fight against the menace of terrorism.
शांति का समय हो या संकट का, हम भारतीयों ने हर परिस्थिति का हमेशा डट करके मुकाबला किया है। इस वजह से इस महान भूमि को लेकर एक अलग व्यवहार हमने देखा है। जब भारत ने कॉलोनियलिज्म के विरुद्ध मोर्चा खोला तो दुनिया के अनेक देशों में आजादी के संघर्ष के लिए ये प्रेरणा बन गया। जब भारत टेररिज्म के सामने खड़ा हुआ तो दुनिया को भी इस चुनौती से लड़ने का नया साहस मिला।
Prime Minister Modi underlined that India is leading in the renewable energy sector. He also focused that the one sun, one world, one grid is appealing the world.
हमने दिखाया है कि रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के मामले में डेवलपिंग वर्ल्ड का कोई देश भी लीड ले सकता है। आज भारत का दिया वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड, ये मंत्र दुनिया को भी अपील कर रहा है।
Prime Minister Modi stressed that India has undertaken many structural reforms over the past year and urged Indian diaspora to invest in India with more economic opportunities.
बीते महीनों में भारत ने एजुकेशन से लेकर एंटरप्राइज तक सार्थक बदलाव के लिए स्ट्रक्चरल रिफॉर्म्स किए हैं। इसमें आपके इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज का विस्तार हुआ है। मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को प्रमोट करने के लिए प्रोडक्शन लिंक सब्सिडी स्कीम ये बहुत पॉपुलर हुई है और बहुत कम समय में बहुत पॉपुलर हुई है। आप भी इसका भरपूर लाभ उठा सकते हैं। साथियों, भारत सरकार हर समय, हर पल आपके साथ, आपके लिए खड़ी है।
Now the chief guest for the event, the President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, extended his greetings on the 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas and hailed the strong ties between India and Suriname.
Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, it is also important to recognize and celebrate that the Suriname Hindustanis have managed to maintain their heritage, their culture and customs. As we say here, their paramparas, Sanskriti and Bhasha. We have a vibrant Hindu and Muslim community. Today, we still speak Bhojpuri, Suriname style, Suriname Hindustani, and we believe we have the best traditional Indian cuisine in the Caribbean. We still teach our youngsters traditional folk dances and folk music like the Baitak Gana. We celebrate Holi Phagwa and we observe important holidays like Diwali, which is a national holiday in Suriname.
He also stressed that Suriname is India's soft power and vice versa. He added that India and Suriname will continue to work on several ties and bonds at many levels.
I believe that our two countries can and should increase their businesses and commercial relationship to strengthen the bond. In this interconnected world we all live in, we value international relationships based on respect and mutual benefits. I wish to propose India and Suriname should introduce the free movement of people between our countries without requiring visas. Suriname is prepared to take a first step in doing so by ending visa permits for visitors from India to Suriname. I believe it would benefit tourism between our countries and would give an important impulse to business opportunities between our countries.
Now, on the occasion of Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar expressed his thoughts over the role of India in supplying medicines to other countries in the critical times of COVID-19 pandemic. He also said that through the Vande Bharat mission, India brought back home lakhs of Indians as well as nationals from other countries as well.
These unprecedented difficulties have only further strengthened our bonds with Pravasis. This was expressed in the Vande Bharat mission that brought more than 3.5 million of our people home. And not least, it was seen in the medicines that we sent to 150 nations, many with large Pravasi communities. We in India have responded through the policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat, building stronger capacities at home to make a larger contribution abroad.
Now, addressing the plenary session, the External Affairs Minister said that the Indian diaspora continues to be a strength to the nation.
Certainly, it is our ambition to build the capacities and strengths commensurate to one of the leading economies of the world. To do that, we recognize the need to think, plan, and act more strategically. What is underway may be a national endeavor, but it is one very much based on global partnerships. India, with greater capacities, can be an additional engine of growth for the global economy. It will also be a trusted partner and a reliable supplier in line with global norms and practices.
Now, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal addressed the first plenary session, the role of diaspora in Atmanirbhar Bharat. He called upon the Indian diaspora to take a pledge for making India prosperous and a powerful player at the global arena.
Let us commit ourselves this year to 4 Ds. Let us fulfill our duty to our motherland with determination and devotion and develop India into a leader, a participant in resilient global supply chains, into a dominant player in international trade. Let us all work collectively towards a more prosperous future for our children. Let us all work collectively to find India's rightful place in the comity of nations.
And shifting focus now to some other news, in the Bhandara district of Maharashtra, at least 10 infants died after a massive fire broke out at the Sikh newborn care unit of a hospital. According to reports, the fire broke out at around 2 in the morning, and among the total of 17 children present at the ward at the time of the tragic incident, 7 were rescued. A nurse on the duty spotted smoke in the room, after which she immediately alerted the management officials. The fire brigade department, upon receiving the information, immediately reached the spot and began the rescue operation. And the Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has ordered an inquiry, and the State Health Minister has announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees each to the kin of those who lost their loved ones. And expressing his grief over the tragedy in Maharashtra's Bhandara, President Ramnath Kovind has taken to Twitter and said, I quote, I am deeply saddened by the untimely death of the infants in a fire accident in Bhandara, Maharashtra. My heartfelt condolences to the families who lost their children in this heartbreaking incident, unquote. Prime Minister Modi also condoled and he tweeted, I quote, heart-wrenching tragedy in Bhandara, Maharashtra, where we have lost precious young lives. My thoughts are with all the bereaved families. I hope the injured recover as early as possible, unquote. And the Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan spoke with the Maharashtra Health Minister Rajesh Tope and prayed for the safety of the innocent newborns who could be rescued. Tragic incident there taking place in which infants there have lost their lives. Moving on now to some other news, the BJP National President JP Nadda is visiting West Bengal's Purba Bardhaman district to launch the party's new campaign aimed at speaking with the farmers and wooing them in a bid to blunt the opposition's anti-farmer allegations against the BJP-led central government. Nadda will float the Ek Muthi Chawal, that's a fistful of rice campaign, under which he would collect rice from the farmers' houses and brief them about the benefits of the new farm laws. Now, during his day-long visit, the BJP national president would also hold a Krishak Gram Sabha rally and a road show at the Bardhaman town, which would be followed by a press conference. And moving on now, shifting focus to taking a look at the updates on COVID-19 from across the country. 19,253 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,56,651. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 96.41%. Now, India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a success. The fertility rate has dropped to 1.45% with 1,50,798 deaths recorded so far. The number of active COVID-19 cases in India stands at 2,24,190, which is 2.15% of the total cases reported so far. Now, in its fight against COVID-19, India has been tackling the pandemic on a war footing, and in a major achievement, India has crossed a significant milestone in testing. The apex body is conducting tests nationwide. The Indian Council of Medical Research has conducted more than 18 crore cumulative tests, and also more than 9.16 lakh samples have been tested in the past 24 hours. In some other news, the parts of Kashmir Valley, including Srinagar, received fresh snowfall on Saturday. The fresh snowfall started on early weekend morning, mainly in the central Kashmir, Srinagar and Ganderbal districts, besides parts of South Kashmir. The famous tourist destinations of Pahalgam and Gulmarg, along with the Kokarnag and Kupwara stations, recorded no snowfall during the time. Meanwhile, the minimum temperature recorded a plunge across the valley with Gulmarg. Kashmir is in the middle of Chilai Kalan, the 40-day winter period that commenced on 21st December and ends on 31st of January. The cold wave, however, continues even after that in Kashmir, with a 20-day-long Chilai Khurd and a 10-day-long Chilai Pacha. And news now from around the world. The U.S. Democrats are planning to introduce new articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump for his role in Wednesday's invasion of the U.S. Capitol, according to reports. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she would move forward with impeachment if Trump did not resign immediately. The charge of incitement of insurrection is set to be introduced by the House Democrats on Monday. The top Republican in the U.S. House of Representatives, including leader Kevin McCarthy, along with two other House Democrats, reached out to President-elect Joe Biden to proceed with the process. Meanwhile, the President-elect Joe Biden said that President Trump was not fit to hold the job. However, the White House has dismissed the impeachment and termed it as politically motivated move. Meanwhile, the U.S. President said he will not attend the inauguration of Joe Biden, which is scheduled to take place on 20th January. Now, Trump in December 2018 was impeached on the charges of obstruction of the Congress and the abuse of power, although he was acquitted by the Senate in early February 2019. And shifting focus now, taking a look at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. As of now, more than 8 crore 93 lakh COVID-19 cases have been reported worldwide, with over 19 lakh 22,000 deaths. Over 6 crore 40 lakh people have also recovered from the virus. The U.S. continues to remain the worst hit country by the pandemic so far and has crossed the 2 crore mark. The U.S. has reported over 2 crore 24 lakh cases of the virus, with the death toll surging past 3 lakh 78,000. Brazil follows the U.S. in terms of death toll, as it has now crossed the 2 lakh mark. The 56-year-old Mexican woman suffering the effects of COVID-19 slipped in and out of consciousness as the paramedics loaded her on and off an ambulance in a frantic search for a hospital bed in Mexico City's overflowing medical centers. It is becoming increasingly familiar scene in the Mexico City and the neighboring state of Mexico as surging COVID-19 cases and deaths push hospitals and the healthcare workers to the brink. Meanwhile, doctors at the hospital said they couldn't take care of her because if she got a little worse, she would need the intensive care, and they are already full at the hospital. Now in Mexico City, 89% of the general hospital beds and 84% of the hospital beds with ventilators are now filled, while the same is true for 82% of the general hospital beds and 79% of the beds with ventilators in the state of Mexico. Mexico has seen one of the biggest daily rises in COVID-19 cases on Wednesday as gatherings during the holiday season likely fueled the contagion. For 3 days this week, there were over 1,000 recorded deaths. And moving on now to sports news, and India have registered 2 early wickets against Australia on day 3 of the ongoing third test match at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Mohammad Siraj removed Will Pucosway for 10 runs and will be hoping to continue with this fine form. Meanwhile, R. Ashwin took the wicket of David Warner. Currently, Australia are batting on 83 for the loss of 2 wickets. Earlier, the Aussie bowling department bowled out India for 244 with the tail-enders losing their wickets in quick succession. Now, Team India began day 3 on a cautious note, with Teshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane starting with a slow approach. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. But news and updates will continue here on Doordarshan News and DD India. For the moment, thanks for being with us.